Hi everybody and welcome to Nature Notes this afternoon. I'm Molly and I'm here to tell you a little bit about a resident critter that we've had around Schmeeckle lately. I did know a lot about this critter before we got started, so I had to look a couple times, double check myself, and yes, this is an opossum. This was a picture taken by one of my friends, Keith, who works down in the wood shop. He came in one day and it was kind of hanging out down there, so he was able to capture this really great picture. There's a lot of unique things about the opossum, and I want to share some of those with you. It's about the size of a house cat, and it's often in this light gray color. It has 50 teeth, which is more teeth than any other mammal, which is pretty crazy. Don't get your fingers too close to it, I would say. Males are always going to be quite a bit bigger than females. And you can see in this picture a little bit of its tail, kind of long and spiny, sort of, long and scaly. It reminds me a lot of the tail that a rat would have. But it's not just neat to look at, it also serves a purpose. So you can see a younger opossum here that's hanging out on a branch by its tail. It also will use its tail to balance when it's walking on the trees. And so you'll see sometimes, if you get lucky, them hanging out like this. But another neat adaptation that the opossum has is its hind foot, which to me looks kind of eerie. It almost looks like a human hand. They do have opposable thumbs on their hind foot, so you can see that in this picture. They'll use that to grip trees as well, maybe to eat. They are omnivores, so they'll eat pretty much anything that they can find. There's not a lot of other mammals with opposable thumbs. A few examples are primates, giant pandas, koalas. A lot of birds have some kind of opposable digit. There's also a genus of frog from South America, and some dinosaurs also had opposable thumbs. Because of this, they'll make a pretty distinctive print in the snow that you can see, especially when there is snow. So this one down here is the hind foot, and this is the front one. The best time to see them, of course, like a lot of other animals, is going to be in the morning when a lot of other things haven't walked over them, people or other animals. And you can see them in the snow or the mud or the sand when it's not wintertime. The way that they reproduce is interesting. They're the only marsupial animal in North America, so that of course means that they'll have a pouch that they carry their young around in, like a kangaroo. When the young are born, they're very, very tiny. They'll breed in March, and then only about 12 to 13 days later, the young will be born, so that means they don't have a lot of time to fully develop. A litter of 20 could fit into this tablespoon, which is really, really shocking to me. They're born, they don't look like the full-grown opossum. They're blind, of course, and so when they're born, they'll climb up into the mother's pouch, and they'll spend about 70 days in there, pretty much getting milk to fully develop that whole time that they're in there. And then they'll crawl out and hang out with their mother for a while before they take off on their own. One other question I had is it a possum or is it opossum with an O, or is it just a P? So I kind of wanted to get to the bottom of that. And there's a reason for it. In Australia, there is what's called a possum without the O. And it's a very distant relative to the opossum or opossum that we have here. They have some things in common, but this is called the brush-tailed possum. You can see, of course, the tail's a lot different. It looks a little bit bigger. So if you think of other animals that we kind of call two different things, some examples are buffalo and bison, rats and mouse, elk and moose. They're kind of called the same thing sometimes. But it's more common to call it a possum without the O in Australia. There's 70 species of those. In North America, we call it the opossum with the O, and there's about 100 species of those. The one that hangs out around here is called the Virginia opossum. You might have heard the term playing dead before, or quit playing dead, or the dogs playing dead, playing possum, as it's actually called. And that is a real thing. When the opossums feel threatened, they'll kind of tip over on their side. Sometimes their tongue will come out, they'll drool, they'll have a blank stare. Sometimes they'll even poop to scare other animals off. And it works sometimes, but not all the time. There's actually some animals that will still go after it. Foxes, coyotes, hawks, owls, pretty much anything that's bigger than the possum. But it's not a very good technique because they only live about 2 years in the wild. The oldest one was 3 years old that was caught in the wild. So they don't live a very long time. So what are they doing now? Why was this one seen in the daytime? We saw one during an interpretive walk yesterday that was hiding under a woodpile. And they're not very great hunters. They are nocturnal, but it's easier for them to find food during the daytime. So that's probably why it was seen out and about. They're pretty notorious for going after bird feeders or really any human food that's left out. They can be considered a nuisance pest sometimes. And there's a couple things you can do to prevent that. Obviously secure your food, like your bird seed or your garbage. They will go after that. You can also build a fence around your property or around your garden, your house, wherever you don't want them. But you have to make sure it's buried about 1 foot deep. You can also have motion-activated sprinklers that will scare them away. And you can make sure that there's no holes in your house or your property that they can chew to make bigger. Well, I hope when you see the Schmeeckle opossum out, you'll be able to know a little bit more about it. And it could be a nuisance pest, but there's also a lot of really neat adaptations that it has. Does anybody have any questions at all? Yeah.
Is 20 the average size litter?
It is the average size litter, but only half of them will be able to survive. Yeah, but 20 is the litter size, and sometimes the mother will have 2 litters in a season. But yeah, all 20 of them could fit in this. They weigh about 1.16 of a gram when they're first born. Wow. Yeah.
How many of you saw the little one out here while it's been visiting?
Just in pictures.
Very curious and very cute.
Well, thank you, everybody.